Welcome to Brandon Hall Group's Excellence at Work podcast. You will hear from industry leaders covering innovative, cutting-edge business, learning, and HR topics that weave current market research and technology into each episode. Our Excellence at Work podcast is hosted by Brandon Hall Group's Chief Operating Officer and Principal HCM Analyst, Rachel Cook.
Hi, and welcome to Brandon Hall Group's Excellence at Work podcast. Thank you for tuning in today, and do not forget to subscribe. I have with me Shalaka, the Quality Assurance Manager at Harbinger Interactive Learning. I'm looking forward to our discussion today on e-learning accessibility. Shalaka is going to share some of her experience in working with clients and some tips about accessibility with creating new content and as well as legacy content. Shalaka has 13 years of experience in the e-learning domain as a quality assurance expert and leads the QA function at Harbinger Interactive Learning. She is an enthusiastic learner of digital accessibility and has worked on many e-learning projects to successfully implement Section 508 and WCAG guidelines. Some of her KRAs include designing accessibility solutions for the projects, strategy implementation, test planning, setting up a testing environment, and team training. She's also part of the Engineering Excellence Initiative at Harbinger Group and closely works with the team for continuous process improvements and quality initiatives. So it's a pretty impressive bio there. And a little bit about Harbinger Interactive Learning. They are a global design and development company specializing in e-learning modernization and custom e-learning solution development. With over 30 years of experience in the delivering innovative learning solutions for various verticals like publishing, life sciences, retail, and high tech. They offer a range of services, including e-learning modernization, virtual instructor-led training, AR, VR, and AI in e-learning, learning technology development, and learning experience design. They also provide cutting-edge e-learning solutions, which include Flash to HTML5. And I'd also would like to congratulate them on receiving 6 Brandon Hall Group Excellence Awards in 2021. That's very impressive. And we also collaborated with them on an ebook last year, Things You Need to Know. And you can find or access that book in our membership center, and we will also include that link in our blog here for those that are interested in reviewing our ebook. And so without further ado, I'd like to now begin our discussion. Hi, Shalaka, how are you? It's great to have you here today.
Hi, Rachel. Thank you so much for having me. I'm honored to be part of this forum here presenting Harbinger and sharing views on e-learning accessibility.
Yes, and it's a really important topic, and I'm glad that you're going to be sharing your experience, especially working in the industry for quite some time, and you have a lot of great examples with your clients. As I mentioned before, you've won 6 Brandon Hall Group Excellence Awards in 2021. Congratulations! That's quite an achievement, and really excited to have you here today. And my first question to you is around the need for accessibility in e-learning. What is your point of view, or can you kind of shed some light on what is accessibility in e-learning and why it's so important?
Right. So before going into why it is important, I would like to answer the question, what is accessibility? There is a very simple definition of it. Like, accessibility means people with disability can equally perceive, can understand, can navigate, and can interact with the content. And also that means they can contribute equally without any barriers. That's how we should summarize the accessibility. And now the need of accessibility in e-learning. I think that's an interesting question. Well, from business perspective, I think there are two driving factors. First, there is this mandate by the law. So organization needs to make their content accessible. It will
Mhm.
benefit organizations if they become proactive than reactive to it. Accessibility is actually an opportunity to increase their market share and profits. And secondly, is it's about inclusivity. By not making content accessible, we are actually neglecting 12 to 26% of the population. It means we are creating barriers for them by not providing accessible content. And
Mhm.
believe me, this percentage is the identified population. There is still a huge percentage of the people with disability which is unidentified, and mm, people are walking in and out of disability at any point of time due to situational impairments or temporary disabilities, anything. So you see, lack of accessibility affects us all to some degree. Hence, accessibility should not be considered as feature anymore. And I'm glad to mention that Harbinger's product Raptivity, which is pioneer in building e-learning interactions, had thought of accessibility a decade back for the interactivities in e-learning. All the interactivity templates are made accessible compliant for Section 5.8.
Oh, that's great. And what is the difference between WCAG 2.0 and WCAG 2.1?
Oh, they're they're not two different standards basically. It's the basically 2.1 is extending 2.0, WCAG 2.0. Uh, and WCAG 2.1 is basically focusing on mobile technology, low vision, and cognitive disabilities, because 2.1 has already addressed vision, deafness, cognitive to an extent, and physical disabilities. So
Mm-hmm.
you see, WCAG 2.0 has 12 guidelines and 61 criteria, which are divided into three levels: A, AA, and AAA. WCAG 2.1 has added one more guideline to it. So that means we have now 13 guidelines and 17 new criteria to the existing 61. So under 2.1, we have uh, 78 criteria. And WCAG 2.2 is also set to release in somewhere June, July 2022, as per the information released on the forums. So 2.2 is actually going to extend 2.1, and it will add 9 more criteria to the existing list. So we will have totals 87 criteria.
Okay. And what are some of the best practices when developing accessibility and learning?
Oh, that's an interesting question. Uh, there is this basic rule we must keep in mind, like ensure that our content is not present in only one format. What it
Mm-hmm.
means is, if there is images, if there is an image or graphic or icon, provide alternative text to that so that screen readers can read it. We can actually uh, neglect or omit decorative images from it by tagging them as artifact, so that screen readers will not read it. If there are audios, ensure that your audio have transcript. Video should have closed captions or descriptions, and ensure that your only color is not used to convey the information. What it means is, have some text support to that. Maintain enough color contrast. Ensure your content is operate is operated through keyboard. Links have descriptive text, and everything is read through screen reader. These are the best practices that we should keep in mind. And if we really follow a templatized approach, it makes development easier, and also our learner get familiarized with their environment by using same kind of interactions, so it also helps them.
Is it easier to start with a new design in this type of format rather than looking at your legacy courses and then trying to then make them accessible? Is that doable, or is one way easier than another?
No, it is doable. I would like to share one experience where we have already done this for one of the customers, where they have already their courses developed in one of the authoring tools.
Mhm.
So, and they want them to make accessible compliant without changing their content. And I'm really glad to share that we did make their content accessible to WCAG 2.1 AA criteria. So out of 50 criteria, we made their content accessible to 45 criteria. So that is
Mhm.
doable. And while doing that, uh, we did follow a set of rules and processes to do that.
Okay.
And very first one was like identify the tool support, authoring tool support for accessibility, then identify the templates which provides support to accessibility. We listed that down. Then we looked at the content. Um, we didn't change their content drastically, but wherever required, we clubbed them together, or if required, we actually split
Mhm.
it logically, gives them uh, write page titles and all that, write as user instructions, all those interactions which are mouse operated through mouse, like mouse horrors, or those interactions, those were converted into click and reveal. Text heavy screens also get converted into beautiful interactions. And that is from instructional design perspective. From the authoring tool perspective, we worked on their file structure. We corrected if there are any functional errors in the file. We set up the guidelines for master slides and color contrast, and I mean finalize all the standards that we need to follow. And then we worked on the um, files. We set up a right uh, tab order for the interactions, and with the right approach and tool support for the accessibility, we could make this project a success.
And Shalaka, if you may, would you consider two different versions? So depending on your audience for, how you're delivering it, or is this just a standard way of delivering all content in this, accessibility format?
Right. I think we should not discriminate between our users. There shouldn't be two versions for two different audiences. It has to be that one solution, one deliverable that is accessible by everyone.
Okay. And what are other things that decision makers should be thinking about as they, consider legacy content and the way that they also need to develop new content?
Right. I think there are three main factors we can consider. First is your audience profile. Uh, like you should know who your users are, what are their needs, then the development platform which you're using for your content development. Uh, it has to be easy to maintain and upgrade. I mean, uh, if your content is getting upgraded very frequently, so the maintenance of it has to be easy, and the level of support to the accessibility conformance that tool is providing, that is also has to be taken into consideration.
Mm-hmm. Okay, those are some really great considerations for decision makers, and it as you mentioned, having a framework and understanding your audience and your resources, and really kind of thinking about all the variables will make it an easier way for you to kind of rethink your content. And as you mentioned before, it's really important not to exclude. It's a larger population than I think most people are aware of. Um, if you take all the different variables as to what is identified as a disability, or someone being prohibited from being able to access your content. What else would you like to share about Harbinger? What other things that you're offering, as we wrap up here today? What are some other things that that's coming your way?
Yes, so Harbinger has its own custom HTML5 framework with 35 templates ready, which is fully responsive, and it is compliant to WCAG 2.1 AA level. And mm, I would say this is spoiler, but Harbinger is making a curriculum on accessibility for L&D professionals, and it will be available soon in couple of months. So I would say stay tuned for that.
Okay, great. Well, thank you, Shalaka. Thanks for sharing some of your experiences and your tips here. It was very helpful. I hope everyone as well had learned something, and we look forward to chatting again. Take care. Have a great week ahead, and keep up the great work.
Yeah, thank you, Rachel. Glad to be here.
Mhm.